Okay, the countdown has begun from match number 2, WhiteRa versus LingKing, Zerg vs Protoss on MLG Shakuras Plateau. There should be cross spawn positions enforced on this map as it is the MLG version. Of course, we are loading up right now, and LingKing suffering a massive defeat because he did not bring out enough air in that previous game. Just could not deal with those Void Rays, did not properly scout that Stargate, and those Void Rays just went to town and dealt a ton of damage. So it'll be interesting to see this game if he builds more Queens early on, does better scouting, or if he just takes a different strategy. A lot of Zerg players are liking to go for very early Hydras nowadays, which allows them to counter air, but it does leave them a little bit weak in the early game, so they do have to be careful when doing that. And it looks like we're probably going to see some very, very standard play coming out of both players. We're probably not going to see a proxy gateway or a double gate put here with chrono boosted zealots to win the game. So as we can see, LingKing just sending his overlord around. Let's see if we can see how that is rallied. Yes, we can. It is rallied down here and then around, and it's going to sit back here right behind the Protoss base. As you can see, this version, the MLG version though, still has these destructible rocks in the back of the base, whereas the newer ladder version no longer has these destructible rocks leading right into your base. So it'll be interesting to see if the players utilize that, but it should not be a big issue considering that they are on cross spawns. And of course, the probe getting into the base, doing a quick scout, looks like as if he only wanted to scout for a pool and then go back. There we go, now he's caught it. A little bit of manual micro, and seeing if he can block this expansion is probably what's going to happen. And this drone surprisingly going down here but actually not doing anything, so it's interesting to see. I'm not sure what his plan is, if he just wants to play some mind games as we do see the spawning pool coming down first, or maybe he just realized he would not be able to expand because the Protoss would block that. As we can see, WhiteRa starting the normal. Oh, this is actually a little. Oh, never mind, that is very normal. He's starting sort of the normal wall in, and we can see this this drone hiding up here for LingKing. Might be able to get some valuable scouting information later, I'm sure, after losing to that play with the Void Rays. He really, really does want to have that scout in there as long as possible. These overlords are just so slow, so it's going to take forever for them to get across this map. Spawning pool is just about to finish. We're going to see a lot of gas being collected, a guaranteed 100 for the speedling, and then he might or might not pull them off. And of course, oh, this drone is still alive, so very good job. It has not been scouted yet. If we look at the income tab though, we can see both players are a lot closer than last game, especially without. And is this going to be a hatchery extremely soon? This is quite a delayed hatchery for Zerg. It is interesting. Looks like as if he's choosing. Nope, he is not saving up his money for a hatchery, as he just did produce, get his Zergling speed on the way, as well as getting that queen. So LingKing might actually be kicking himself in the foot by not expanding early enough. We'll have to see later in the game if this plays off, as the expansion does now come down at basically 20 supply, or 4.5 minutes, or just past 4 minutes I should say. So we can see the LingKing, his harvester count starting to get behind the Protoss player as he was saving up money for that expansion, and also producing a few Zerglings to be able to attack. Oh, that queen trying to chase that probe, but that probe's going to see everything, get a great scout off, see pretty much everything. And once again, we see that WhiteRa is not using his chrono boost on that warp gate technology. He is not concerned at all. He's going to just be producing out the gateways normally, letting that finish, and saving up his chrono boost for I'm not sure what. Last game I did not really pay attention to see if he did up for anything specific. And this Zergling, no, it will not get a scout. It could have gotten a run by there for a couple of seconds, but really it was just going in to check if he had an expansion from the looks of things. And we are seeing, of course, those 2 more gateways coming down like we saw usually. So this build looks a lot more like it might be just a 3-gate expand. It does not look like as if we will be opting for airplay, as we would probably see the starport out already. Both players doing a pretty good job at not getting supply blocked. Oversupply is pretty close, overall supply, but we see a huge harvester advantage for the Protoss player. And if LingKing does not start getting on top of this harvester production, we'll definitely be in a world of trouble. Making a lot of Zerglings right now instead of droning up. Right now is sort of the point when he wants to be really drony hardcore and not building any units. A lot of Zerg players, that is sort of their biggest weakness, is knowing when to drone up and when not to. And obviously LingKing here building too many units early on. And oh, he cancels that. So interesting choice to cancel that. I'm not sure if it was the best choice, but considering that it looks like as if our Protoss player is probably going to go for, yeah, looks like really standard play here. He's just going to expand, stay back. He's not going to do much. And LingKing has to be very careful in this engagement because he could lose a lot of Zerglings. Oh, but no, force fields were not used. Those Zerglings should have stayed their course and attacked. They would have dealt so much damage with only one Zealot in there. Sentries are extremely weak. LingKing should have really pushed that advantage. Instead, he pulls away, saving his units and just taking the safe route. We can see he's already getting his lair on the way, as well as there's a robotics facility coming down for the Protoss player. It is almost complete, and the expansion just finishes with a bunch of workers being transferred. If we look at the income tab, finally catching up, very equal. Right now LingKing is ahead because his second base is saturated, but soon those numbers will be very similar, as LingKing doing a very good job getting up on that, getting up on his macro, but he really needs to grab another base soon, as the general rule of thumb for most players is Zerg has to have more bases than pretty much every other race that it plays against to be able to do well. And looks like as if we're going to see a lot of Roach play as well. Zergling Roach play, this is something that's been sort of, I don't know, I've seen a lot of lower level players do it, but also higher level players are starting to experiment with throwing in Zerglings against the sentry heavy army, because Zerglings really can help you burn those force fields. They can get better surrounds. They can really do a lot to make your opponent, or to keep your opponent from being able to use those force fields in such a way that is extremely effective. As we see, starting some creep spread, but not very good from LingKing, who is now knocking down the back doors. I guess he's going to go for this expansion rather than expanding over here. It probably will be easier to defend as long as the Protoss player does not end up getting blink, or of course destroying these backdoor rocks to march in. As Overlord is still in place, I have not seen him make a sacrificial scout yet. We're already getting up close to 10 minutes, so I'd really like to see that Overlord going in and checking out what is going on in WhiteRa's base, because he has to be very careful, because right now their economy is dead even, and WhiteRa starting to get the bigger army. It's really starting to catch up. Well, okay, maybe not. I guess I'll just eat my own words right there. Sorry guys. So anyways, this is game 2, as I have said. It's do or die for LingKing. Obviously going to feel a little annoyed after losing that first game, but let's see if that phases him. Hopefully he makes a valiant comeback and takes this game 1-1, forcing a third game. I would love to see that. Oh, and WhiteRa supply blocking himself. Not good at all. I don't think he's even realized this, as he's only pylon warp in. He really should be building a couple more pylons, because he will spend that supply extremely fast, especially as we can see with that Colossi out. He's already supply blocked yet again. And there we go. We see another pylon going down at the back, and that should finish in time to allow most of his buildings to still produce, especially the important Colossi, so we definitely want to get those numbers up. We see LingKing has indeed taken that expansion. Thermal Lance is on the way for the Protoss player, and so far we have not seen anything coming out from LingKing that could potentially counter this. And we see the Infestation Pit coming down. I would love to see some Infestor play. Infestors are definitely really good ever since the patch. Great unit. They really should be used more. They got buffed, and they are just so much better. And of course, WhiteRa taking a third already, playing a heavy macro game. He's out-macroing the Zerg player, and the Zerg player is just being too passive, giving up map control. He really should have the Zerglings going around the map. He should be able to find these and force cancels on these quite easily, as WhiteRa is just sitting in his front door building up. And this is the one thing you really do not want to do with Protoss. You do not want to let them just sit in their base. You do not want to let them just build up an army and then finally at some point have a maximum number of Colossi and just rip you to shreds. So you have to be extremely careful. As we see some upgrades coming out. Oh, Tunneling Claws coming out for the Zerg player, probably to try and counteract that force field. It has been something that's been happening quite a bit. And yes, we will see Infestors on the field as Neural Parasite is being researched. Right now, no major research coming out for the Protoss player, as he's just finishing up that Thermal Lance and his Forge is finally coming down. If we look at the Army tab, oh, our Zerg player is actually quite far behind in Army now, and he does not have proper map control Does he? No, does not have proper map control. He might not see this. Oh, he does see the army coming down, and will he react accordingly? Oh, he's bringing his Zerglings down here, probably to get a flank, and he has a lot of roaches, but his army is just not big enough to deal with this unless these infestors can pop out in time with enough energy to be able to cast that fungal, which obviously they do not start with enough energy, so really he's got to hope. Oh, and we see hallucination being used, warping a ton of claw side, and we do not see any form of detection for a Zerg player, so he may end up doing a lot of damage to fake units, which would be really bad. As we can see, this halluted Colossi soaking up a ton of damage, but the real Colossi, oh, nice snipe. One of the real Colossi goes out, a second one. And those infestors, he has to be careful and keep them in the back. He's not doing a good job at microing them. No, they're not even on the same hotkey, so he must have just grabbed all of his units. And really, he should be backing up these force fields here. He really should be. And can he get this last Colossi? Beautiful surround. I did not see these roaches coming in from behind. And oh my god, LingKing is going to take this battle decisively. And this is what you want to do. It does not matter if you lose more units than the Protoss player. As long as you can completely destroy their army, you are ahead. And he has indeed dealt a ton more damage and resources, taking out that army. This is big. LingKing might yet make his comeback, 69 to 59, favoring the Protoss player with his third expansion, so he's still not out of this game. It's up to LingKing, though, to make the right move. And I love the fact that he's gone with the infestors, and we're going to have to see if he can build up a nice army and get in there before the pro player is able to remax out and build up enough Colossi. Right now, the Protoss player only sitting on one Robo Bay, which is not enough. He really needs more higher tech structures. Right now he's just relying on gateways and a single robo, and unless he uses a ton of good force field action, he will not be able to hold off what the Zerg swarm is going to send at him. And double expanding from LingKing, he's bringing his A game to this match. Extremely, extremely good. And we do see that right now it's sort of both players are sitting back, just getting some upgrades, and we see, oh, are we potentially going to be seeing Overlord drops at some point? Oh, never mind. That is my mistake. I do not know I do not know Zerg that well, so this is obviously the starting energy, allowing them to fungal as soon as they spawn in. But hey, come on. Kydarian Amulet got nerfed, so we've got to nerf that too. Units just can't spawn in and use their AoE attacks. That's cheap. Okay, I'm done being a little bit silly there. Anyways, we can see the creep spread starting to sort of not happen for LingKing. He really should be continuing to do a little bit of that creep spread. I'm not sure why his entire Roach army is here. That would be extremely bad. If the Protoss player were to push, he would have absolutely no way of getting his army down here in time if the Protoss player was to walk straight through and use this top part where his opponent does not have vision. And this probe is going to be taken out by that Roach, obviously, but now he knows that there is a unit there and that watchtower is under the enemy's control. And look at this, a burrowed Roach. Don't those things just look so funny as they're tunneling along? We're just going to ignore everything else that's going on right now and just see where this Roach decides to go scout. I will point out, though, that there's a Spire coming out for our Zerg player. I'd love to see Corruptor Broodlord into Broodlords more so than just Corruptor play, but we'll have to see. Okay, this Roach comes in, spots this expansion, says, oh, he's got a base. Oh my god, that was an infestor. I am so sorry, guys. Beautiful play. Oh, WhiteRa just not paying attention to his mini-map. All of those probes getting taken out. This is huge. Absolutely huge. That was an awesome play. As we're looking at the army tab right now, resource-wise, they're very even, but the Zerg player maxed out already in the Protoss, only at 150 supply. LingKing, as long as he doesn't wait too long to push out, this game should be his. He just has to be very careful not to allow the Protoss player to get many more units, because if he does, then the Protoss army will start getting exponentially stronger. If we look at the income tab, 69 to 72, it looks like as if WhiteRa might have had way too many probes to begin with, so having all of those probes die off is a good thing if he does remember to transfer these workers, because he a lot. Yeah, that's easily 40 workers sitting right there at that base, and oh my god, WhiteRa completely forgetting his macro. I do not know what happened. This is not the same player from last game. He has completely slipped up, and we'll have to see what happens in this game as he is completely fallen apart. And there we go, finally noticing that he has all of these ropes to transfer up to his bases. And interestingly enough, he broke down his own backdoor rocks as well, and has a couple units just sitting there waiting. As we can see though, right now, the Zerg player is getting further and further ahead, but he is allowing the Protoss player to max out his army, which is not good. 5 Colossi, that is a critical number of Colossi, 5 or 6, and we see the Zerg army just get decimated if they do not have the right composition. As we can see, looking at the units on the field, we do have 9 crows, so if those are microed properly, this could be big. And these infestors definitely will play a huge part there, but there are only 2 infestors with the army, as the third one is still burrowed up here. And are we going to see an engagement soon? It'll be interesting to see. We can see, oh, this is not good. Is WhiteRa doing that on purpose or not? That was really bad, having that Colossi go out there on its own. But, oh, if he can snipe some Corruptors, though, this would be definitely useful. One thing I'd love to see, a lot of players don't do this enough, is have your Corruptors sit down here, and then when the battle comes, don't fly them straight over the army. Have them fly. Will he use the Corruption ability? And he's flying right over those Colossi. He's not using the Corruption ability. He really needs to be doing that to force those Colossi to take extra damage. And, oh my, ground force is just getting taken out completely. Oh, and he's not taking out enough Colossi, and he's going to start losing Corruptors left, right, and center. This battle is looking completely lopsided because he did not properly deal with those Colossi. And oh my god, flying right over the stars. A really, really bad choice, but he must take out another 2 Colossi if he's very fast. Will he get the other Colossi? No, he has not. But this Colossi will go down to the Roaches, and we could be seeing that LingKing be able to just hold on to this battle, even though he lost that initial engagement. But really is expected. If you're doing a max army, Zerg versus max army Protoss, the Protoss army should almost always come out ahead, and then the Zerg army just ream quick enough to be able to kill off whatever is left. And we see that decisive battle coming out in LingKing's favor, and I'm going to definitely say it came out in his favor, as no real damage was done other than losing some units. We can already see 2 and 2 upgrades for the ground, and does the air have any upgrades yet? I'm not certain, but looks like no, there is absolutely no upgrades for the air yet. And we're seeing from the Protoss player, we're seeing 2 attack and 1 armor out, so his upgrades are a little bit behind the Zerg player, but not by much, as he does have 2 more on the way, double forge, so soon he'll have the upgrade advantage once again. We see Dark Templars actually being on the field. I did not catch a Dark Shrine going down, so there are some Dark Templars. Definitely Dark Templars can be useful later in the game, because a lot of times your opponent does not plan for Dark Templars. They just don't expect them to pop up. I'm really not sure where they are, so we'll just have to wait and see. Oh, and look at the Congo line. This is always bad to do, having a Congo line come in and they just get picked off as they funnel in. But oh my god, he needs to back up. There we go. The retreat. Those force fields were poorly placed, only blocking off the Roaches and not keeping some of them trapped for a few free kills. And look, the Dark Templars in the field here. They may have been revealed. I think LingKing might realize, if he's been looking at that army, he would say, hey, why am I under attack? And there's nothing there. And oh, this is on attack move. It really should be just on straight up move command and then attack. And we're going to see this expansion go down, which is actually big, considering that LingKing right now has a lot of expansions mining and WhiteRa does not. As we can see, this base is basically completely mined out, and we see this is the only mining expansion left due to this one being taken. So definitely worth all of the units he threw in there, also taking out a lot of those stalkers, but not reducing that important Colossi number. As we can see, oh, more Roaches coming in to reinforce this. And where did that DT go? Is it raining havoc anywhere, or did it get taken out? It looks as if the DT got taken out. I had to go on the battle, guys. Sorry. We could not see if that DT did anything. It's too hard to be in. Oh, there we go. The DTs are indeed still alive, and they still are doing some very good harassment, completely cleaning out that base. And LingKing really needs to worry about these DTs right now, because even if he does trade, these DTs, so he wants to stay ahead. He doesn't want to lose any advantage he has right now. And oh, the spawning pool could go down, and he does not have another spawning pool anywhere else on the map. Another engagement in the center, guys. Almost misses, as we can see a DT in there, and the Roaches having to retreat as that army is just too large, and they really should be continuing to back up. If we look though, LingKing starting to hurt on those resources. This could definitely be bad news, as he's throwing away a ton of units. Oh, why does LingKing throw down the GG? And LingKing bowing out of the game when I would say that it is not lost. WhiteRa sticking around, finished killing off some units, and oh my god, WhiteRa takes this series 2-0, LingKing backing out when he shouldn't have. I really think that if he had dealt with those DTs, he would have been able to. He would have been able to hold, it was just those DTs. He did not deal with those DTs. He really needed to, and he really had the advantage, but he just let those DTs completely destroy his economy. And yeah, he had a bunch of units all over the map, and it just didn't work out for him. So, too bad. LingKing should have stayed in there. I think that would have made it a game of 3, but WhiteRa now being the champion of that series, and we will be going on to the next game later tonight.